Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hi, I'm Rose Davidson from Talking with the Experts. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Global Glamping Charities for their valued support. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Talking with the Experts.
Tomashoff in episode 474 discusses why leveraging data in your business allows you to make strategic decisions that provide you with maximum profitability.
Like kind of having, really well-defined contract, or like what's included in your services. All of that is very helpful, and kind of, actually goes hand in hand with when we create pricing formulas, because then you can revise, what you tell clients are included in your services, or you can revise your contracts. But also I think that it's, we as service providers, we want to make our clients happy, right? So it's easy for us to have get into that scope creep mindset where it's okay to just add on a few small requests, but those small requests can snowball, and that's where we can get in trouble sometimes.
Talking with the Experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Tomashoff, and she's going to be discussing with how to start leveraging data in your business. Now, leveraging data allows you to make strategic decisions that will provide you with maximum profitability and growth. My goodness, I'm a bit tongue-tied this morning. Dee is she's graduated with an MBA degree, and she has a CPA license. And so her drive and passion is focused solely on her budding career path. When she graduated, she envisaged working as a chief financial officer and making decisions that would propel growth and create an impact in the businesses that she would work for. And she wanted that big office with the beautiful view, as did we all back in the day. For the past 3 years, Dee has been helping business owners manage day-to-day operations and driving business growth by leveraging data-driven strategies. Dee is passionate about bringing her financial knowledge and analytical mind to ensure clients are not bleeding profit in any area of their business. Oh, yes, I might need to have a talk to Dee. She's especially passionate about working with women to help bridge the financial disparity between men and women around the world. Dee, welcome to Talking with the Experts. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Now, I've pretty much talked about how you got into doing what you're doing. What happened? What changed from the big office with the beautiful view?
Well, my daughter was born a little over 3 years ago, and after she was born, I just couldn't go back to work in that traditional office setting. And but I still really had that drive and passion to make a difference and use the skills that I have learned. So that was really kind of my driving force. And, for me, the big reason why, obviously I have this background in, financial analysis and accounting. But one of the big reasons why I love doing what I do with clients is because really the bottom line with when you have increased profitability you have more freedom to do what you want in your business, what you want in your personal time. And that is kind of what my business has given to me, the freedom to be able to be with my family more, be more present, because, you know, when you're on that career path where you want to, you know, go to be a CFO, you are working a lot of extra hours, you know, outside of the, you know, the standard time. So having that freedom to be with my family, you know, has been that big driver. And that's also really the passion that I have when I work with clients, to really help them increase that profitability so that they have that freedom, whatever that is for them.
Perfect. It sounds like a plan, actually. I think a lot of us would like to be able to leave our corporate positions and start a business, and it's not an easy journey, that's for sure.
It's not an easy journey.
No, it's not, especially when you've got a small child at home and trying to work around that. It makes it a little even more difficult. So how can businesses leverage their data to be more successful?
Sure. You know, I think really financial information, or just like starting to take a look at your financial data, can be really overwhelming for anybody, you know, business owners, in our personal lives. You know, it's one of those areas that we tend to just have like that ignorance is bliss mindset. But really, when we, you know, take control and we focus on what we can control, which is, you know, spending the time to learn the ins and the outs of our business, we can use that information to make strategic decisions on. So really, I like to say that, you know, start small. Obviously, there's so much that you can do, but if you get to the point where you're overwhelmed with, you know, 10 different reports that you should do each month, and, you know, kind of all of that, you're going to be in that like analysis paralysis phase where you just, you know, aren't actually doing the work that you should be doing. So that's kind of like my number one is, you know, kind of start small, but start strategic, right? So you want to be looking at the areas that are going to give you the, you know, biggest bang for your buck, you know, the amount of time you're spending there. So I always like to say, when just starting out, kind of the 3 top areas I like clients to start focusing on are a quarterly financial review, and at a minimum in that quarterly financial review, taking a look at like your cash roll forward. So seeing where your cash inflows and outflows are. And then taking a look at your profit and loss statement. So really understanding kind of the trends. The trends are more so important than, you know, what that like net, you know, income number is. You know, so really understanding and analyzing what areas your business maybe you need to focus on. That's kind of like the biggest, you know, piece that's really important with the profit and loss. And then I also like clients to kind of start ensuring that they are, you know, reviewing a pricing formula, that they have a pricing formula for their business. That really helps clients to be held accountable to something, right? Because we all tend to undervalue ourselves. So it holds them accountable to the pricing that they should be charging for their services or their product. But it also provides a means for them to compare after, you know, a product or service is completed, so that they can, you know, analyze how they performed. And then kind of the last piece is like a project profitability. So kind of goes hand in hand with the pricing formula. But the project profitability helps you to analyze trends over a period of time, by service type or product type, things like that. So those are kind of like the top 3 areas that I recommend that business owners start taking a look in.
And they are very basic reports that we should all be
Yes.
looking at, but some of us aren't financially savvy, so we don't understand what the reports actually mean, and some of us just don't care. I mean, we just keep plodding along.
Yes.
And some of us go overboard and overanalyze and think they're in a deficit situation when they might not be.
Yep, that's all very true. Especially kind of like that second point that you hit on, that some people just don't care. And that can be because, maybe they feel like they're in a place that their business is doing well, well enough that they don't have to pay attention. And that's actually one that I see pretty often. But like really there are always ways to continue to improve, or things that you can do differently so that, maybe your business just feels easier to you. You know what I mean? So, when you take a look at some of the different type of analyses, you can pinpoint, maybe where certain areas or processes need to be streamlined, added efficiencies, things like that. So your business might be doing well from a financial perspective, but then you could also be struggling, you yourself or team members that you might have, from kind of that operational perspective that some of these analyses can help with as well.
And, a lot of us too, as, budding entrepreneurs, or even ones that have been in business for a little while, don't know how to strategize their pricing. So, what is a sort of a basic formula that we should be looking at?
Sure. Well, so there are definitely there are many different pricing strategies out there, and a lot of them tend to depend on what like service a business owner offers. But really, I tend to see that most business owners eventually get to the point where they're using kind of like a mixed pricing strategy. So some aspects of their services maybe are priced at, like an hourly rate. They hopefully have some like markup built in there for profit, or also, hopefully they have the markup for SG&A expenses, right? Because we all have operating expenses for our business. And if we're not including, those costs of running your business in your pricing of your services, you're never going to kind of, be at that maximum profitability level. So, and then, there could be some other pricing, methodologies, maybe you have some flat rate fixed, services in a package that you offer. So really figuring out and nailing down what the different like strategies are that you need to have for your service as a whole is like kind of like the number one step. But a lot of times I see clients don't have all of like the inputs factored in, right? So like we might, brainstorm everything that it takes to complete a service, but we don't actually, include everything on that list. There might be things that we think are like inconsequential. It don't really matter. They don't really take a lot of time. But then, the beauty of having the pricing formula actually, prepared, and then you can compare it to your actuals afterwards, is you start to see that, oh man, I spent a lot of time taking extra meetings with clients, right? Like maybe you only have 1 or 2 meetings in your package, and then you ended up taking 5, and maybe that's kind of like a trend for you. So you can start to see like where, you're spending more time. And so that's kind of like what one big mistake that I see a lot of clients make is they're not properly capturing all of the inputs that it actually takes them to complete their service.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of us skip over things like, extra meetings, or sometimes it might take extra time to complete a task or whatever, and you've only, budgeted or quoted or whatever for a certain amount of time. So yeah, I think we have to, when we're pricing jobs, we may have a set price, but if it takes extra hours, we need to maybe not build that into our price, but let the client know in the quote that there is an extra charge for extra stuff.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like kind of having a really well defined contract or like what's included in your services. All of that is very helpful. And kind of, actually goes hand in hand with when we create pricing formulas, because then you can revise, what you tell clients are included in your services, or you can revise your contracts. But also I think that um it's we as service providers, we want to make our clients happy, right? So it's easy for us to have like get into that scope creep, mindset where it's okay to just add on like a few small requests, but those small requests can snowball, and that's where like we can get in trouble sometimes.
Absolutely. Setting boundaries is really important in, setting boundaries around your time is very, very important. Another thing that I have a question about, as a service provider, and where can you find, or where could you advise that we look for places to price an hourly rate for ourselves? So you've come out of a corporate job, you've started something that's totally different to what you were doing in your corporate job, and maybe it's not something that you would be paid for in a normal position. So how can you price your hourly rate based on something that's not listed anywhere in any documents?
Sure. So, chances are there's somebody out there who's doing something similar, or at least, has a similar like foundation. So doing some type of competitor analysis is always, helpful or important. You can kind of get a idea of what kind of like the low end of a range is for pricing and what kind of like that high end is, which can be helpful for you to understand like where you can grow into in certain roles. One thing that I caution with competitor pricing is, we all have different pricing structures, right? So we all have different operating expenses that go into our businesses. So while, one business owner might operate very lean, maybe they don't have a big tech stack, as compared to another business owner who, uses a bunch of different services to help them streamline and automate their business. They're obviously going to have different pricing structures. So I always like to advise, kind of going through the exercise of determining what, that appropriate pricing strategy is for your business, and what, taking a look at all those cost inputs, and then using kind of what you come up with to compare to competitors out in the market, and then determining what's best for your business based on, your level of expertise compared to theirs and things like that.
That's great advice. Thanks, Dee, for sharing that. Because a lot of us don't know where to look or how to price ourselves, because it's something that we've something that we've fallen into, I guess, and it's not always listed on salary sites or any of those sorts of things. So
Yes, absolutely. And even, like different social media groups, like Facebook groups and things like that. There are definitely a lot of um, common places where people hang out who are starting similar businesses. And that's always a good place to start too, right? You can offer to, have a coffee chat with somebody and kind of pick their brain. Things like that also are really helpful when people are just starting out.
Yeah, that's I hadn't thought of that, but that's a great place to ask questions. I mean, that's why you're in a group, I suppose, is to learn from others, and talking to even the admins or the owner of the group, and see what they're charging. It's not a bad way to find out what your competitors are up to anyway.
It's true.
So what other strategies should business owners be looking at, other than the normal types of reports?
I think that, it's always just important to be staying proactive when you're taking a look at your business. So I think that really just kind of staying on top of, like the pulse of your business, right? So if something is feeling off or hard to work through, then take the time to analyze what's going on in that area of your business. Don't, you know, don't wait until the end of the year, right, to do like an annual analysis and figure out why you've been struggling through that. Act, sooner, whether that's, each quarter, or if you have the ability, or, depending on the struggle that you might be going through in that area, a little bit sooner. But that's really kind of like the number one advice, is to be proactive. Take a look at what's going well in your business compared to where you might be struggling or you don't feel that same ease, and try to apply those things that you're learning from the areas that are going well to the areas that aren't. And then, hopefully over time, things start to improve, across the board.
Mm. What would a business owner do if they found themselves a little bit challenged financially, and want to keep the apps and software and stuff that they've been using, because it helps them to run their business? What would you advise them to do? Would you advise them to go down to the free, or keep the services that they have, or because a lot of us are a little bit challenged with the apps that keep our businesses going?
Mm-hmm. I think that it kind of depends, right? Like there can be like a happy medium. I think that the first thing that I would suggest doing is taking a look at your expenses and making sure that you're actually using all of the different services that you're paying for. So a lot of times, I've seen that maybe you are paying for more users than are actually using, the technology that you're subscribing to. So that could be one way, right, to cut down on costs. Maybe you're not using that service at all anymore and you didn't realize that you hadn't canceled it. So that could be a way to save on costs. And then, if you really need to start cutting down even more from there, like if those two areas didn't help cut costs enough, I would suggest, kind of prioritizing the, tools in your tech stack that really are most advantageous to your business, and keep those. And then you could kind of like, peel off some of the other ones. And it can just be for, the time being, right? Maybe you aren't, the services that you offer, maybe now you're not, doing video calls with people, right? So maybe you can downgrade your video call service. So just kind of analyzing what you're actually using versus what you're not using, the number of users that are actually using, and then kind of analyzing what's the number one priority, or what are the top priorities, and just ensuring that the ones that you keep on are like vital to running your business, that there's not another option out there for what you could be doing, because there are free options. Some of them of course are limited with like maybe like the number of times you can use it per month, or certain features. So there are definitely positives and negatives, but in a time where maybe you don't have cash inflows coming in or enough, you have to make hard decisions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really great advice too, because it sometimes is hard to make. It's hard to make the hard decisions. And then you really need to look at what your outflow is each month to all of these services that you're using. And you're right, if you don't use them, go just take down into the free account for the time being until you can get more money, and you can start paying for the higher level. Dee, I don't suppose you've written a book or have a podcast or anything like that?
I don't actually. Having a podcast is actually something that I think that I would love to do. I love sharing information with others. but it's not on my radar yet.
Yeah. And so I guess where can people find you, Dee, if they want to work with you?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram at Tomashoff. I share lots of information over there, tips and, different areas that you should focus on in your business. So that's a really great place to connect with me to learn more information about things that you can be doing in your business. And then you can also find me on my website, which is www.dtomashoff.com. You can learn more about me and my services that I have to offer. And I actually have my current freebie that's up there is more in depth on how to start leveraging data in your business too. So that would be a good thing to download as well.
Wonderful. Dee, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge with our audience today. If you were to give some advice, whether it be a tip or a hint or just some quote, what would that be?
I would just say start now, right? Like don't put off analyzing what's going on in your business, because it's small changes over time that make a big impact. And if you start doing small things now in your business, you'll start to see, the benefits sooner. And you'll definitely start to see the benefits sooner if you don't start at all. So just start now.
Absolutely. Don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today.
Exactly.
Dee, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.